Hey guys, Farak here. Okay, so I've decided to start making tutorial videos on this channel. I mean, there are a lot of things I'm pretty comfortable at, pretty good at, and I'd like to, share knowledge because that's the best thing to do with knowledge. So for starters, I played poker for money years ago and I did very, very well. And I'd like to give that over to you guys. I'm going to assume you have zero poker knowledge. I'm going to assume you've never played a game, you've never seen a game of poker before, and that you have pretty weak math skills. If you've played poker before, the first few videos might bore you. Maybe you could learn something. Maybe you can catch a mistake I made and write in the comments. Let's get started. First of all, very quickly, there's the deck of cards. There are diamonds, spades, hearts, and clubs. Spades and clubs are dark. Diamonds and hearts are red. Each color has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then Jack, Queen, King, Ace, for a total of 13 cards. 13 diamonds, 13 spades, 13 hearts, and 13 clubs. I'm just going to do one simple math thing with you. Let's say somebody shows you a full deck of cards. That's all 52 cards. 13, 13, 13, 13 is 52. And he says, what do you think the chances are that you're going to pick out a 2 of hearts on your first try? Well, how many 2 of hearts are there in the deck? There's only one. So there's one 2 of hearts. And you're taking that out of the entire 52 card deck. So it's one card you want out of the 52. According to the computer, that's 0.02, or in percent terms, there's a 2% chance you'll get that card. It's a really low chance. Using this knowledge, let's do one more example, and then we'll move on to the actual game. Okay? So from a full deck, 2 of hearts. The odds of getting it are 2%. Let's say you have a half deck. In other words, someone tells you it's only a red deck. In other words, these cards and these cards were removed. So there's only 13 plus 13. There are only 26 cards left in this deck. And somebody says, what is the odds of you getting a 2 of hearts? Well, let's do that one more time. There's one 2 of hearts out of 26 cards are left. And now, if you look at the percent, you have a 4% chance of getting it. Still not great, but it's double the percent chance you had before. It's much better. Still not a great chance that you'll nail it. Out of 26 cards, you pick one. Now let's look at actual poker. This might seem a little daunting to you. I'll go really slowly, and we'll start with a simple example. So this is the setup for 6 players. Let's pretend you're having what's called heads up. It's just you against this player, okay? Just you two. Here are the abilities you have in poker, and I'll talk about them as they come up. Now in poker, I'm not going to get into what hands beat what hands, but why can't every player just sit and not spend any money and not spend any money? Let's say you have 1,000 poker chips, okay? You and this player. You're both playing a game. Why can't you just wait until you have an amazing hand, ace, ace, and then finally put a lot of money in, and then you'll win, right? So that would be a good idea. So the great poker geniuses invented what are called blinds, which means you're forced to put money in the pot before you even get your cards. If you're what's called the big blind, that's enough money to actually play the hand. If you're the little blind or the small blind, you still have to put, in this case, 15 more chips into play, but you sacrifice 10 chips just for getting your cards. So let's say in this example, you are the big blind. So you now have 1,000 minus 25, and the pot now has your 25 chips. This guy has to do 1,000. He has to give in 10. He has 990 now, and now the pot has 35 chips. Let's say the flop comes. You get an ace and a 10. By the way, flop. Oh, I'm sorry. No flop. What am I talking about? Never mind, I said that. So the guy shuffles out the cards, right? You get an ace and a 10. Forget about whether they're spades or clubs. Let's not even talk about that. And this player gets a 6 and a 6. Both of you have great hands. I'm not going to explain why. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, so he has that, right? So you're happy. Let's say it's his turn now, okay? Now, you put in your big blind. So now it's his turn to decide what to do. And he's looking 6-6 is a great hand. So, not only does he put in 15 more chips to call, not only does he add the 15 chips, which he needs to, he puts in an extra 25 because he loves his hand so much. So he now gives in the 15 and another 25, bringing the total amount he's left with to 950. He's left with 950 now. Now the action's back to you. You have to think about whether you want to put another 25 chips in. If you're scared of him, you're going to have to do what's called fold. You're too scared, and you're going to give up, and you lost your 25 chips that you spent. But no, you have a good hand. So you now are going to put in another 25 chips as well. You're confident that you could beat this loser. Okay. So now you're both down to 950. He does what's called a... Actually, I'm sorry. You just called, and now the flop's going to come. Once you call his hand, the flop's going to come. Now, the flop are the first 3 cards that the dealer, who's the guy here holding the cards, puts out. Let's say this flop comes out like this. Ace, King, Jack. You're very happy because you hit your ace. So now you have a pair of aces, which is the best pair you can get in poker. Okay? Well, you just called, so now the action's on him. He's terrified because 6-6 looks like a great hand. He has a pair of 6s. But now, he doesn't know what you have, but if you have an ace, then you'll have a pair of aces. If you have a king, you'll have a pair of kings now. If you have a jack, you'll have a pair of jacks. He doesn't know what you have. All he knows is that he raised you, he put more chips in, and you call. That means you're confident you have a good hand. So you probably have one of these 3. He's now really scared. So he's too scared to put in more chips. So he does what's called a check. Check means you don't want to raise. He's too scared to put more chips in because he thinks you probably have a really good hand. You're confident with your ace, so you actually raise, and you put in another 50 chips. Sorry. You had 950. Now you're going to put in another 50 chips. Now you only have 900. I'm sorry, this, everyone put in 50, so this was 100 already. I'm sorry, the pot was 100, right? You each put in 50 before. Now you put in another 50. The pot's now 150, and he's terrified. He doesn't want to put in another 50 chips, because if you have an ace or a king or a jack, you'll be beating him. He doesn't even care about the next 2 cards. Sure, if he got a 6 in one of the next 2 cards, he'd have an amazing hand. But that's not very probable. The odds of it happening are not big, and we'll talk about that later. So he at this point is too scared and he folds, which means even though he put in 50 chips, he gives up and he's too scared to continue playing. At this point, you will now get the entire pot of 150 chips. You had 900 left. Now you have 900 plus the 150 from the pot. You now have 1,050. So now you're at 1,050. He's at 950 because he went to 950 and then he was too scared to continue. And the pot returns to 0 because you took all the chips. That is poker in a nutshell. And at that point you'll just give your hands back to the dealer and this will all be cleared. This is poker in a nutshell. I can go into more detail, how there's more players and what happens in a real scenario. But what I want you to do now is I want you to go online, type poker 2013, whatever, go to YouTube, and watch the games, and watch. There are players. When a player is confident, he'll raise, he'll put more chips in. When a player is scared, he'll either check, or if there's money in, he'll fold. He's too scared to put in more money. And sometimes if a player just thinks he has a good hand and somebody else put money in, he'll call. He'll agree to pay that exact amount. So I encourage you to watch some games, see how this action happens. In the next video, I'm going to get much more into detail. I'll go through a case of 6 full players, and perhaps I'll even talk about blinds going up. And if there's time in the next video, I'll talk about what hands beat what hands. Progressively, as I get to video 3 and 4, I'll talk about how much you should bet, how much of your total money you should actually put into each game, and stuff like that. And those are really important details. And when you're playing fake poker on the phone or whatever, it's a joke. When you're playing real money, there's a whole new element to the game, and I'll talk about all that in future videos. Please leave in the comments whether you enjoyed this or not. If you already know how to play poker, it probably bored you, but let me know if I made any mistakes, or let me know if you thought this was actually instructional for new players. If you're a new player, let me know if you learned how to play basic poker from this. Obviously, you didn't learn hands yet and what beats what, but I'll do that in the next video. Thanks, guys.